In a courtroom where justice was blind, one judge's prejudice turned the tables, and the man she insulted became the one to handcuff her. The scene opens in a packed courtroom. The air is tense, and the murmurs of the audience fade as the judge, Honorable Judge Margaret Hargrove, a stern, middle-aged white woman with a reputation for being harsh and biased, enters the room. She takes her seat at the bench, her cold eyes scanning the room. The defendant, Marcus Johnson, a 30-year-old black man dressed in a simple suit, stands nervously at the defense table. His lawyer, Sarah Bennett, a young, passionate attorney, whispers words of encouragement to him. The charges against Marcus are minor, a misdemeanor for allegedly resisting arrest during a traffic stop. However, the case has drawn attention due to the racial undertones of the arrest. The prosecution presents their case, painting Marcus as aggressive and uncooperative. Marcus maintains his innocence, claiming the officers targeted him unfairly. As Marcus takes the stand to testify, Judge Hargrove interrupts him almost immediately. Her tone is dripping with condescension. Judge Hargrove, sneering, "Mr. Johnson, do you always have such a problem with authority? Or is it just when the officers happen to be white?" The courtroom gasps. Marcus's lawyer, Sarah, jumps to her feet. Sarah Bennett. "Objection, Your Honor. That's highly inappropriate and racially biased." Judge Hargrove, smirking. "Overruled. Sit down, counselor. Your client's record speaks for itself." Marcus clenches his fists but remains calm. He continues to testify, explaining how he was pulled over for no reason and how the officers escalated the situation. Judge Hargrove rolls her eyes and makes snide comments under her breath, clearly discrediting his testimony. The courtroom is thick with tension as Marcus Johnson finishes his testimony. His voice is steady, but the weight of the situation is evident in his eyes. He has just recounted the events of his traffic stop, explaining how he was targeted without cause, and how the officers escalated the situation unnecessarily. His lawyer, Sarah Bennett, sits beside him, her jaw clenched as she prepares to counter the prosecution's arguments. But before she can speak, Judge Margaret Hargrove leans forward, her piercing gaze fixed on Marcus. Her lips curl into a smirk, and her tone is dripping with condescension. Judge Hargrove, mockingly, "You know, Mr. Johnson, people like you always play the victim. Maybe if you spent less time causing trouble and more time respecting the law, you wouldn't find yourself in situations like this." The words hang in the air like a dark cloud. The courtroom falls silent, the audience collectively holding their breath. Marcus's lawyer, Sarah, is on her feet in an instant, her face flushed with anger. Sarah Bennett, shouting, "Objection, Your Honor. That is completely out of line. Your comments are racially biased and have no place in this courtroom." Judge Hargrove's smirk widens, and she waves her hand dismissively. Judge Hargrove, coldly, "Overruled, counselor. Sit down. Your client's attitude speaks volumes, and I won't tolerate disrespect in my courtroom." Sarah sits back down, her fists clenched in frustration. Marcus, however, remains calm. He takes a deep breath, his eyes locking with Judge Hargrove's. There's a fire in his gaze, but his voice is steady and measured. "Is she Marcus Johnson?" Firmly. "Your Honor, with all due respect, I'm not the one disrespecting the law here." The room gasps. Judge Hargrove's face flushes red with anger, her composure slipping for the first time. She slams her gavel on the bench, the sharp sound echoing through the courtroom. Judge Hargrove, shouting, "How dare you speak to me that way? I should hold you in contempt right now." Marcus doesn't flinch. He stands tall, his dignity intact despite the judge's venomous words. The tension in the room is palpable, the audience on the edge of their seats. It's clear that Judge Hargrove's bias has crossed a line, and the weight of her prejudice hangs heavily in the air. This moment marks a turning point in the scene. Marcus's calm defiance in the face of blatant racism not only exposes the judge's true character, but also sets the stage for the dramatic twist that follows. The audience is left stunned, their sympathies firmly with Marcus as they wait to see how the situation will unfold. The tension in the courtroom is at its peak. Judge Hargrove's face is flushed with anger, her gavel raised as if she's about to bring it down and declare Marcus in contempt. Marcus stands tall, his calm defiance a stark contrast to the judge's volatile demeanor. The audience is silent, their eyes darting between Marcus and the judge, unsure of what will happen next. Just as Judge Hargrove opens her mouth to deliver her ruling, the heavy wooden doors at the back of the courtroom burst open with a loud bang. All heads turn as a group of federal agents, dressed in sharp suits and wearing badges, strides into the room. Leading them is Agent Daniel Carter, a tall, commanding black man with an air of authority that immediately commands attention. The agents move with purpose, their footsteps echoing in the now silent courtroom. Judge Hargrove freezes, her gavel still raised mid-air, her face a mixture of confusion and dread. Agent Carter, firmly addressing the room. "Judge Margaret Hargrove, you are under arrest for corruption, abuse of power, and violation of civil rights. The courtroom erupts in gasps and murmurs. Cameras flash as reporters scramble to capture the unprecedented scene. Judge Hargrove's face pales, her earlier arrogance replaced by sheer panic. She stammers, trying to regain control of the situation. Judge Hargrove, voice trembling, "This is outrageous. On what grounds? You have no right." Agent Carter cuts her off, his voice calm but unwavering as he pulls out a warrant and begins reading her rights. Agent Carter, "You've been under investigation for months. We have evidence of your biased rulings, racially discriminatory comments, and illegal dealings with the prosecution in multiple cases. You've violated the trust placed in you as a judge, and now you'll answer for it." The agents move swiftly, one of them stepping forward to handcuff Judge Hargrove. She struggles weakly, her protest growing more desperate as the reality of the situation sinks in. Judge Hargrove pleading, "This is a mistake. You can't do this to me. I'm a judge." But her words fall on deaf ears. The agents escort her down from the bench, her once imposing figure now diminished and humiliated. The audience watches in stunned silence, some shaking their heads in disbelief, others nodding in quiet satisfaction. Marcus stands at the defense table, his expression a mix of shock and relief. He glances at his lawyer, Sarah, who gives him a small, reassuring nod. As Judge Hargrove is led past Marcus, their eyes meet for a brief moment. There is no triumph in Marcus's gaze, only a quiet sense of justice. Judge Hargrove looks away, her face burning with shame. The agents guide her out of the courtroom, the doors closing behind them with a final resounding thud. The room remains silent for a moment, the weight of what just happened settling over everyone. Then, slowly, the murmurs begin again, this time filled with a sense of vindication. Marcus takes a deep breath, his shoulders relaxing for the first time since the trial began. The twist is complete. The man who was once at the mercy of a biased judge has now witnessed her downfall, and justice, though delayed, has finally been served. This moment is the climax of the story, a powerful reversal that underscores the themes of accountability and the fight against systemic injustice. The audience is left in awe, their emotions running high as they process the dramatic turn of events. The courtroom is still buzzing with shock and disbelief as the federal agents escort Judge Hargrove out. The heavy doors close behind her, leaving a palpable silence in their wake. All eyes turn to Marcus Johnson, who stands at the defense table, his expression a mix of relief, disbelief, and quiet triumph. His lawyer, Sarah Bennett, places a reassuring hand on his shoulder, her own emotions evident in the way she exhales deeply, as if releasing the weight of the battle they've just fought. Agent Daniel Carter, the lead federal agent who arrested Judge Hargrove, approaches Marcus. His demeanor is calm but respectful, his presence commanding yet approachable. He extends a hand to Marcus, who shakes it firmly. Agent Carter, sincerely. "Mr. Johnson, I apologize for what you've endured today. Your case was one of many that brought her corruption to light. Thank you for standing up for yourself and for helping us expose the truth." Marcus nods, still processing everything that has happened. His voice is steady, but carries the weight of someone who has faced injustice head-on. Shadim, Marcus Johnson. "I just wanted a fair trial. That's all anyone wants." Agent Carter gives him a small, understanding smile. Agent Carter, "You got more than that today. You helped take down a corrupt system. That's no small thing." Sarah steps forward, her voice filled with pride as she addresses Marcus. Sarah Bennett, "You stood your ground, Marcus. You didn't let her break you. That's why we were able to get to this point. This is a victory, not just for you, but for everyone who's been wronged by people like her." The courtroom, once a place of tension and fear, now feels lighter, as if a dark cloud has been lifted. The audience begins to murmur again, but this time the tone is different. There's a sense of hope, of justice finally being served. Reporters scramble to capture the moment, their cameras flashing as they document the historic event. Marcus takes a deep breath and looks around the room. He sees the faces of the people who supported him, the ones who believed in his innocence even when the system seemed stacked against him. He feels a surge of gratitude and determination. Marcus Johnson, to Sarah and Agent Carter. "This isn't just about me. It's about making sure no one else has to go through what I did. If my story can help change things, then it was worth it." Agent Carter nods in agreement. Agent Carter, "Change starts with people like you, Marcus. People who refuse to stay silent." The scene shifts as Marcus walks out of the courtroom, his head held high. The hallway is filled with people, reporters, activists, and community members who have gathered to show their support. As he steps outside, the sunlight hits his face, and a crowd of cheering people greets him. They hold signs that read "Justice for Marcus," and "End Systemic Racism." The atmosphere is electric, a celebration of resilience and the power of standing up for what's right. Marcus pauses at the top of the courthouse steps, taking in the moment. He turns to Sarah, who stands beside him, and gives her a small, grateful smile. Marcus Johnson. We did it. Sarah Bennett, smiling back. No, Marcus. You. Did it. The camera pans out, showing Marcus surrounded by the crowd, their cheers growing louder. In the distance, a police car drives away, Judge Hargrove visible in the back seat, her head bowed in shame. The contrast is striking. Marcus, once the accused, now stands as a symbol of hope and justice, while the judge who once held power is now facing the consequences of her actions. The scene fades to black, leaving the audience with a sense of closure and inspiration. Justice has been served not just for Marcus, but for everyone who believes in fairness and equality. The fight isn't over, but this moment is a reminder that change is possible when people stand together. The final scene shows Marcus at a community rally, speaking to a crowd about the importance of standing up against injustice. His story has become a symbol of hope and change. As he speaks, the camera zooms out, showing a diverse crowd of people united in their fight for equality. Marcus Johnson. No one should have to go through what I did, but if we stand together, we can make sure no one else has to.